Hey guys! Welcome to Lecture 1 of Series 1 of our channel. I'm Taylor.
I'm Noelle.
And today we're going to give you a quick rundown of our trip to the Milwaukee Public Museum. So while we were at the museum, we were able to look at a variety of different exhibits that displayed not only cultural but also environmental factors of specific cultures and their effect that they had on gait as well as posture. So the first exhibit we looked at was the Native American exhibit, where we believe that due to the lack of natural resources, these Native Americans had to perform manual labor, which then caused a drastic change in the posture, specifically neck and spinal flexion, as we'll see in this upcoming picture. So as this picture illustrates, the citizens had to walk miles for food to be able to collect it for the family, and the only way to transport it back to their home was through these bags on their back, which was connected by the head strap, as you can see on this woman's forehead. The large amount of weight on their back and the attachment of the bag on their forehead led to a neck and spine flexion posture change. Can you even imagine that, Noelle? That just sounds terrible.
It sounds horrible. And it's not exactly the luxury that we have today in America. The change in posture was also seen in the same exhibit with men and women carrying large pots of water on top of their heads. These large pots of water were extremely heavy, and we're hypothesizing that the people performed this neck and spinal flexion in order to increase the surface area over which they're carrying the water instead of just having the large pot resting on the small top of their head. Taylor, what do you think of the examples compared to our environment currently here in America?
That's a great question, Noelle. I think most of us can agree that the aspects most similar would be our use of backpacks. So the backpacks, especially in PT school, are useful because we're carrying around all those books all day. So the backpacks, as we became more industrialized throughout our society, now have two straps instead of the one strap as was seen throughout that picture with the woman, which is leading to more comfort, not only to be able to carry the backpack and our heavy loads on our back, but also to help us with our posture and also correct that. As America, as we've learned in class, we don't necessarily portray the ideal posture where our line of gravity is through the axis of rotation, but we more so do the normal or optimal posture where the line of gravity is a little bit off from the axis of rotation, and then we have those active and passive components that help us counterbalance that gravity. But like we saw through that picture, those in that exhibit, in that society, they did not have optimal posture. Mm-hmm. Oh, can you think of any other differences?
Yeah, specifically like Taylor mentioned before, with how America has become more industrialized and we have those technological advancements, we now are fortunate enough to have fresh food and water right in our own homes, in our fridges and sinks, so we no longer have to perform manual labor in order to get those things. We also now have cars that transport us, so we don't have to walk miles for food, so that's obviously very beneficial. In addition, there's also a huge educational component. There is a lot of education given in the workplace about correcting posture as you sit at a desk all day and making these alignments so that your posture is better throughout the day. And then with sports and lifting, coaches like to inform players of the importance of proper lifting techniques so that they don't hurt each other and that they have proper form.
All right, so I think we spent enough time on that exhibit. Do you remember that other exhibit with the rotating Native American dancing?
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, so I think we both can agree that we believe that the cultural rituals of that Native American tribe, such as their dancing, had a drastic impact on their gait. As this picture illustrates, certain dance moves require them to be up on their tiptoes. So in turn, the whole time they were dancing, they ended up being up on their tiptoes. This habit really strengthened their plantar flexors and then led them to perform the style of plantar flexion gait throughout their whole ritual of dancing. However, they are lacking normal heel flexion during their gait, which also means they're lacking supination of the foot and therefore the rigid lever for the push-off and propulsion like we've learned in class. Do you think American culture affects our gait, Noelle?
I think there's some similarities and differences between the Native American exhibit and us today. Specifically, the similarity is that in athletes today and their sports that they play, there are certain sport-specific demands that the sport puts on their body and therefore the body adapts, such as swimmers tend to have broader shoulders because they have to push the water out of their path that's ahead of them. Baseball players tend to have more external rotation from the constant throwing that they go through, and volleyball players usually have a higher vertical jump because they're always jumping and going through plyometric training. It's important to also note that a big difference is that we now have services such as physical therapy and occupational therapy to fix for gait and posture abnormalities, so more people are quote-unquote walking normally now as compared to what we saw in the Native Americans exhibit. And then also an important side note is that there is a bulk of Americans who lead a sedentary lifestyle, so this can also affect their gait and their posture.
Okay, so this is all cool and informative, but we need to take a step back here and actually realize what we learned from the museum.
Definitely.
So as we've described, the little things in life, such as getting your food or doing any of your hobbies or your cultural dances or those things of that nature, can really have an impact on your day-to-day life. And then if you keep up with these quote-unquote bad habits that we were just talking about, they can really impact and carry out throughout your everyday life, and you might not even realize it.
Everything that we've discussed definitely has a major role in how it affects us as physical therapy and our major in the work that we'll be performing. Specifically, we want to make sure that we're observing these day-to-day tasks that our patients are performing and analyze how they perform these movements so that we can come to understand why patients might be making substitutions or compensations that they are throughout their motions, and we can figure out where that's stemming from and what's causing the problem. Therefore, as PTs, we would then want to create strengthening programs, range of motion, flexibility, balance, to correct these problems and have their body move more efficiently.
All right, so that's going to conclude our lecture for the day.
If you have any questions, please bring them to class on Monday, and we'll see you then.